to Search the Scriptures. We are on study number 17 in the book of 2 Samuel today. And 2 Samuel 23 will be the chapter we're going to be covering, next to the last chapter in the book. And we're going to try to answer three different sets of questions. Now, these first two questions come from the first 7 verses, so keep that in mind as we read it together in a moment. Compare verses 3 and 4 with verse 5. What apparent conflict is there between the two reasons given by David for his happiness and prosperity, and is this conflict real? And secondly, what light is cast on verses 6 and 7 by David's advice to Solomon in 1 Kings 2, 5 and 6. And verse 3, consider what David's followers were willing to do for their king, and at what stage in his career, what lessons are there here for a Christian. Let's look at 2 Samuel chapter number 23 together, beginning with the very first verse. These are the last words of David, the inspired utterance of David, son of Jesse. Now just look at how David describes himself here in this first verse. David, son of Jesse, the utterance of a man exalted by the Most High, the man anointed by God of Jacob, the hero of Israel's songs. Verse 2, the Spirit of the Lord spoke through me. This word was on my tongue. The God of Israel spoke. The Rock of Israel said to me, when one rules over people in righteousness, when he rules in the fear of God, he's like the light of the morning at sunrise on a cloudless morning, like the brightness after rain that brings grass from the earth. If my house were not right with God, surely he would not have made with me an everlasting covenant, arranged and secured in every part. Surely he would not bring to fruition my salvation and grant me every desire. But evil men are all to be cast aside like thorns, which are not gathered with the hand. Whoever touches thorns uses a tool of iron or the shaft of a spear. They are burned up where they lie. Now the description of David's mighty men, beginning with verse 8. These are the names of David's mighty warriors. Joshaphat-Basshebeth, a Tachmonite, was chief of the three. He raised his spear against 800 men whom he killed in one encounter. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai, the Hathite. As one of the three mighty warriors, he was with David when he taunted the Philistines gathered at Pasdamim for battle. Then the Israelites retreated, but Eleazar stood his ground and struck down the Philistines till his hand grew tired and froze to the sword. And the Lord brought about a great victory that day, and the troops returned to Eleazar, but only to strip the dead. And next to him was Shammah, son of Agi, the Hararite. When the Philistines banded together at a place where there was a field full of lentils, Israelite troops fled from them. But Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field, and he defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. It's real interesting, just stop right here. It's real interesting to me that David's 3 bravest men were not Israelites. They were foreigners. I think sometimes in the reading of the Old Testament and in thinking about Israel as a chosen nation, that many times we forget that God used the foreigners living among the Israelites in a great and mighty and wonderful way at times. Verse 13, during harvest time, 3 of the 30 chief warriors came down to David at the cave of Adullam, while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. At that time David was in the stronghold, and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. And David longed for water, and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the 3 mighty warriors broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem, and carried it back to David, but he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out before the Lord. "Far be it from me, O Lord, to do this," he said. "Is it not the blood of men who went at the risk of their lives?" And David would not drink it. Such were the exploits of the 3 mighty warriors. Abishai, the brother of Joab, son of Zeruiah, was chief of the 3. Now, verses 13 through 17 here and 18, we're talking about a different 3 from the first 3. So we've got 3, then we got 3 more. That's 6, okay? He raised his spear against 300 men whom he killed, and so he became as famous as the 3. Was he not held in greater honor than the 3? He became their commander, even though he was not included among them. Benai, son of Jehoiada, a valiant fighter from Kabzeel, performed great exploits. He struck down Moab's two mightiest warriors. He also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed the lion, and he struck down a huge Egyptian. Although the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, Benaiah went against him with a club. He snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. Such were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. He too was as famous as the three mighty warriors. He was held in greater honor than any of the 30, but he was not included among the three, and David put him in charge of his bodyguard. Among the 30, so we've got 7 so far, now 30 more, for a total of 37. Verse 24, among the 30 were Asahel, the brother of Joab, Elhanan, son of Dodo, from Bethlehem, Shammah the Harodite, Alika the Harodite, Helez the Peltite, Ira, son of Ikash, from Tekoa, Abiezer from Anahoth, Sibbecai the Hushathite, Zalman the Hahothite, Maharai the Netophite, Heled, son of Anan the Netophite, Athai, son of Rabbi, from Gibeah in Benjamin, Benahai the Parathonite, Adai from the ravines of Gaash, Abi Albon the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Bahumite, Eliabah the Shaalabonite, the son of Jashen, Jonathan, son of Shammah the Hararite, Ahiam, son of Shar the Hararite, Lephlite, son of Ashabai the Maacathite, Eliam, son of Ahithophel the Gilonite, Hezro the Carmelite, Parai the Arbite, Igal, son of Nathan, from Zobah, the son of Hagri, Zelek the Ammonite, Aharai the Beerothite, the armor-bearer of Joab, son of Zariah, Ira the Hithrite, Gareb the Ithrite, and Uriah the Hittite. There were 37 in all. And did you notice how many of them were foreigners? Yet they protected the king of Israel. Question 1. Compare verses 3 and 4 with verse 5. What apparent conflict is there between the two reasons given by David for his happiness and prosperity? And is this conflict real? Well, David was well aware of his own ups and downs when it came to his righteousness. He was aware of the enemy of his soul. He knew full well that happiness was directly tied into living a righteous life. He seems here at the end of his life to kind of be breathing a sigh of relief at the end, because he feels that he's returned to a righteousness and a fear of the Lord that perhaps he had abandoned on the rooftop when he was supposed to be off to war, but instead was looking over into the bathtub at the top of Uriah the Hittite's house, where Bathsheba was taking a bath. Second question, what light is cast on verses 6 and 7 by David's advice to Solomon in 1 Kings 2, 5, and 6? Now, verse 6 and 7 is talking about you remove thorns with a stick or with a spear. You don't reach out and grab them with your hand. David tended to have a lot of thorny people close to him that he didn't deal with very well. He tells Solomon in 1 Kings 2, 5, and 6 to do something about Joab. So we see here David passed the buck to Solomon. David was never one to really deal with things, as we've seen. He left some things undone at the end of his life. One of the things that he left undone was the insubordination of Joab. Now, Joab probably did a lot of the things that David should have done, but it wasn't Joab's place to do those things. And David tells Solomon in 1 Kings, hey, he killed Abner, he killed Amasa, which are my two commanders, even though they probably shouldn't have been maybe commanders of David at the time. He killed them without my orders. You need to do something about this guy. It's up to you what you do. We see him telling Solomon that he passes the buck of the Joab problem to his son Solomon in 1 Kings chapter 2. Joab took responsibility that David should have attended to himself, probably, but that led to him being insubordinate, and now David had failed to correct him. Solomon was going to be left to complete the task. Final question, consider what David's followers were willing to do for the king and at what stage in his career, and what lessons are there here for a Christian. Well, David's men stood with him when he was in the most difficult of circumstances. They would go to any lengths to make sure that his needs were met, and we need to do the same for our brothers and sisters in Christ. It should also be noted that when David received the water that they went to get at a great price and great peril, it says they poured it out on the ground. He didn't drink it. So this tells us that, We need to be willing to help our brothers and sisters in the Lord, but we should never be demanding that help. We should definitely never put them in danger or peril or in want just to satisfy our own fleshly desires. In other words, we can't take advantage of the family of God. You know, a lot of times people say, well, I thought you were a Christian. If you're a Christian, you'd help me with this. If you're a Christian, you'd do that. Many times the people that say that, they wouldn't do anything for anybody else. They want to take advantage of the family of God. David here clearly shows, yes, the family of God needs to be there for one another, but no, we don't expect it, we don't demand it, and we don't take advantage of it. I hope this study, as we wind down 2 Samuel tomorrow, studying the last chapter, chapter number 24. Hope this study's been helpful to you. Hope you're having a great day so far. May God richly bless the rest of your day.